and Jordan Hager. Who's Zoom user? Okay, all right. Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Okay, that was pathetic. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
And while I'm saying that, Lizzie's over yawning. You want to try that again? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, there you go. That's the smile I'm used to. I want you to write down this phrase. The phrase is, by his fruits ye shall know him. By his fruits ye shall know him. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Just write that down. By his fruits ye shall know him. So as you're writing that down, the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is to just write down what your goal was at the beginning of this year in terms of production. If you say, well, I haven't been in the business that long, so I didn't write anything down then, but say, oh, then just write down what you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. Okay, but write down what it is that you wanted to accomplish, specifically as it relates to real estate production and your income this year. And as I said, if you didn't have a goal, then just write down what you want to do in the next 12 months. Make sense? As Lizzie yawns again. Oh my goodness, there is no yawning in real estate, at least not in here. All right. Okay, so did you get the phrase written down? By his fruits ye shall know him? Okay, and then you wrote down your goal? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so did you get your goal down? Yeah? All right. So you wrote yours down? Okay, Bob, you're still typing. Dave, you're still typing. So you guys got it down?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to give you just a second. Got it? Okay. All right. So let's do this first of all. I want to ask you, based upon what you've written down, go ahead and share it with me. What did you write down? What's your goal?
My goal was 360,000.
360,000. What did you write down?
140.
140.
It was 500,000.
500,000. Okay.
I just did transactions, 50 transactions.
50?
This year.
Okay. All right. What does that translate
About
into?
4 months.
Okay. But I mean, in terms of money, do you know? You don't know.
250.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's a good
George
number.
George is the savant on math. What
I
do you have
did
about you?
transactions too.
Okay. And,
6 transactions.
okay. And what does that translate for you? Probably about 60 grand.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. Kirk,
What's up?
what's up? Your goal for the year. What did you?
lucked out.
That's all good. What did you write down in terms of your goal, income, and transactional?
I wanted to do 24 this year.
24. Okay. Cool. All right. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I wrote down 24 agents and 10 transactions on the commercial side
Okay.
and getting married, and I only did one of those.
Okay. Okay. You did an important one.
I did an
Yeah.
important one.
Okay. So based upon that, you have different goals. So what it would take in order to accomplish that, would it be different slightly?
Yes.
Yeah. But would it require the same sort of activity?
Oh, except for getting married.
Well, yes. Yeah, except for that part. Yeah. But would it require the same sort of activity in terms of your transactional goal, your income? Okay. It might be a varying degree of activity. You know, if you got a $500,000 goal versus a $60,000 goal, might have to work a little bit harder, a little bit longer. Yeah. Okay. So let's just agree. Let's talk about what it would take, regardless of what the number is, but just practically, fundamentally, what things we should be engaging in on a daily basis. That make sense? Does it make sense? Okay. So number one, what do we know we should be doing? Prospecting. Okay. So let me write that down. We're going to put together a checklist here. And where are the? Okay, so number one, we know we should be what?
Prospecting.
Prospecting. Okay. What does that prospecting look like?
Talking to people.
Well, yes, fundamentally, but how? When?
Yeah.
For how long?
Setting your schedule. I mean,
Okay.
door knocking.
Okay, so prospecting doors, could be doors, right? Do you have to do doors? The answer is what?
No.
No, you can do what?
Phone call.
Okay, you can do phones. Okay.
Social media.
Social media, is that prospecting? Could be. What's the difference between marketing and prospecting? Marketing's posting something and then what? Waiting, okay? Unless you're with social media, specifically reaching out to people and saying, hey, are you interested in buying or selling real estate? It's probably just what? I mean, it's just marketing, right? So probably not, but possibly, Mateo. Okay, what else? Fundamentally, that's probably about it, right? Yes, come on, yes. This is not a mystery. It's not a trick question. What I'm trying to do is get you to acknowledge what it is that you have to do in order to achieve your goal. Make sense? Pretty simple. Okay, so prospecting doors and phones, when, how often?
Every day.
Okay, every day? Lizzie says every day. Do we all agree on that? Every day. Okay, so prospecting doors and phones every day. Does that mean 7 days a week? Okay, for you it doesn't, yeah, but I guess maybe if you're gonna make $500,000, does it mean every single day?
No.
Okay, doesn't have to be, right? Perfect, fair enough, okay? But every day meaning Monday through Friday, yes, we all agree on that?
Yes.
Ish?
Yeah.
Turk, okay, all right. So we're gonna prospect doors and phones every day, Monday through Friday. What else should we add here, anything? What time should we start, what?
Meetups.
Okay, meetups. Okay, yeah, I would say that the meetups are a result, Mateo, of that prospecting. So we set an appointment either at the door or the phone and agree to meet with them face to face. Yeah, make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So when would we prospect?
In the morning.
Okay, is that Steph? Steph says in the morning.
In the morning, in the afternoon, if you don't have any appointments, you're prospecting all day.
Okay, all right. What I would say is that the best time to prospect is whenever you're going to do it consistently. But yeah, if you will start in the morning prospecting and do ultimately is what Brian Tracy says, eat that toad, right? Or eat the frog and leave the tadpoles for later. Because how many of you would prefer to eat a tadpole to a toad? Come on, say aye, right? But if you fill up on tadpoles, then you're not going to eat the toad. But if you start with the toad, which is the most important thing, which would be what? Number one, what did we say? What is it? Come on, say it. Prospecting, then it's most likely that the rest of the day is going to take care of what?
Itself.
Going to take care of itself. Okay, so prospecting doors and phones every day, and we're going to do that in the morning. And for how long are we going to do it?
30 contacts or 3 hours.
Okay, so Steph says for 3 hours to 30 contacts. But based upon your goal, could it be more or less, Turk?
Yes.
Okay, or maybe based upon your skill set, Mateo, should it be more or less?
Less.
Okay, he's really confident in himself, right?
Until you get an appointment.
Okay, so your standard is until you get an appointment, okay? I love that.
And so you can be consistent with it, I think. Whatever's gonna be, like I said, holding yourself to that level of consistency.
Okay,
Because you can pound out, 50 contacts one day, the next day you're scared you're gonna go.
okay, I love what you're saying here. And as everybody's giving their answers, I want you to think about this, okay? We're getting various answers on the way it should be done, but fundamentally we're agreeing that there's an activity that has to be engaged in, which is what? Prospecting, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to write down, based upon what you're saying, really ultimately what your standard is relative to prospecting, what you believe it should be relative to achieving the goal that you've written down for the next 12 months or for this year. Does this make sense? I want you to be mindful of what you're saying. Don't just give me these answers. I want you to write these down because I want to have you check something in a minute. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what else? We say prospecting. What's the next thing we should be engaged in?
Setting appointments.
Okay. So but how do we do that? Because prospecting is lead what?
Lead generation.
Lead generation. There's a difference between lead generation and lead incubation. Follow-up. Okay. So write that down. You got prospecting and then subsequently follow up. Okay. How often should you follow up? In terms of a schedule, it should be every what?
Every day.
Every day. Yes, thank you, Luz. Thanks for participating. So we prospect to generate a lead, but then we follow up with a lead to incubate it to the point that it actually converts into a what? Good morning. That turns into what?
An appointment.
A lead is not a client. A lead is what? It's just an opportunity to set a what? Set an appointment. Yeah, right. And the reason we're meeting for an appointment is to get them to agree to what? To sign a contract. And if they sign a contract, then ultimately they're a what? They're a client. Does this make sense? Now, I know, guys, do you understand this? Is there anything new that I've talked about? The answer is what? Lizzie's yawning again for the third time. None of this is new. What I'm trying to get you to acknowledge is fundamentally you already know what it takes to what? To achieve your goals, the goal that you wrote down. Yes, Ruby? Okay. So we prospect, then we follow up. And we follow up how often? Every day. We may not follow up with the same person, but every day we set aside the time to follow up, to incubate those leads that we've generated in the previous days. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yes or yes, gang? Hello, good morning.
Yes.
All right. So we prospect, follow up. What would be the next step?
Set up.
Okay, so the intention is, Turk says, is to set what? An appointment. And how often do we want to do that, Turk? At a minimum what?
Every day.
Every day. So really, setting an appointment, in other words, we want to have the what? Intent, say it. The intent, finish for me.
Should.
The intention, thank you, Turk. We want to have the intention to set one appointment, how often?
Every day.
Every single day. Okay? Have the intention of setting an appointment every single day. And if we do that on average, right, if there are 240 days, work days in the year, because there are 365 days in the year, but we take out weekends, Jason, and all the time you're going to take off on vacation, right? It leaves us how many work days? 200 and what? 240. Okay? So if you set an appointment every single day, how many appointments would you set for the year? 240, pretty easy, right? Okay, all right. So we set an appointment, or at least that's the intention, every single day. Did Michael Jordan make every single one of his basket attempts? He didn't.
No.
He made how many as a percentage?
Not more than LeBron.
That is a horrible answer. That is horrible, horrible, horrible. As Charles Barkley would say, that's horrible, that's terrible, man, terrible. That is not the answer. What is the percentage?
It's like good.
About 60%.
Yeah.
He made about 60% of his shots, which meant that he missed what percent?
40.
40%, 4 out of 10 he missed. And yet he's the best basketball player to ever exist and ever will. Aubrey, there's no argument there. Stop that. It's like sacrilegious blasphemy. All right. So set an appointment every single day with the intention of what? What's the next one?
Sign a contract.
We sign a contract. In other words, we're going to present to them the reasons as to why they should sign, Dave, to your point, sign a what? Sign a contract. Okay, that's the list. We could add more to it, but fundamentally, yes, go ahead.
John, you said not to say presentation. Wasn't that conversation or something?
It is. Thank you for the correction. We want to have conversations. You're correct. Every single day. So if I take a look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is fundamentally just your what? If you want to make money, you have to what? Do your job. So we understand fundamentally that these are the things that we have to do. I had you write down in the very beginning, what was the phrase? What was the quote for your fourth yawn, Lizzie?
By his fruits ye shall know.
Now, what does that phrase mean? Bishop, what does it mean? Matthew 7:16. By his fruits ye shall know him. What does it mean?
It means you can basically know the person by what they produce, or how they are, who they are.
Yes. You know the person based upon what they produce, or let's show some grace and say just simply by their what? By their actions, right? Okay, is this resonating? Does this make sense? You might say, well, John, where are you going with this? Anybody see where I'm going with this? Anyone? Not yet?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, I kind of believe if you look at it as in, if you buy his fruits where you take the values of the job,
Right.
you shall reap the benefits.
Mhm.
I take it away.
Yep, I like it. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Clean sheet of paper, if you will. Just write down the word coachable. Write down the word coachable. There are 4 levels of coachability. Number 1, not coachable. There are people out there who are simply not coachable. Anybody know of somebody who's not coachable?
Yeah.
Have you seen what that looks like?
Yeah.
right? It doesn't matter what the coach says or the parent says or the friend says in terms of great advice, what should be done to achieve whatever it is they want to accomplish. The person who's being coached won't what? They won't do. They won't do it. Doesn't matter. Even if fundamentally they understand that, well, yeah, that makes sense, they simply won't what? They won't do it. Then there's the person who is selectively coachable. What does that look like, selectively coachable? Well, that would be somebody who does some of what the coach suggests. So for example, if you were coaching somebody new in the business and you told them that they should do those 4 things that we talked about, and they decided that they didn't want to do the prospecting part, but they wanted to do the social media part, you would say that they're probably a little bit what?
Selective.
Or a lot? Selectively coachable. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right. The selectively coachable person is the person who has this voice in their head. It's a little voice in their head, Ruby, that says, yeah, you know what? I don't think the coach knows what he's talking about. You know, he's been in the business for 30 years. The business is a lot different now. That old guy, you know, he hasn't sold real estate for 15, 16 years. He really doesn't know what it takes, because in today's marketplace, you really have to understand social media and the new gizmos and gadgets and all the things that weren't really in existence at the time when he got into the business in 1993. So ultimately, their ego says that they know what? They know everything or more or better. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, that's the selectively coachable person. Then there's the person who is reluctantly coachable. And the reluctantly coachable person says, okay, coach knows what he or she's talking about, but man, I don't know. It's kind of what? Okay, but uncertainty is what? What's the word we use? It's kind of scary. I don't know that I want to do it. I mean, I guess I'll try it, but gosh, I don't really want to try it because I'm afraid that I'm not going to be enough, or I'm going to look dumb, or I don't have all the answers, or simply I'm just going to be on what? Uncomfortable. That's the reluctantly coachable person. Okay, and then there's finally the person who is absolutely what? Coachable. This is the person that, despite how they feel, will do everything that they know fundamentally that they should do. They do everything that the coach asks. Yes, Aubrey?
Yes.
Right? So the question is, where are you? When you look at this, and you look at the levels of coachability, what do they all have in common? What does every human being have? That doesn't read or spell ego, it's what?
Ego.
Ego. Write that word down, ego. Does the non-coachable person have an ego? Yes or yes?
Yeah, very much.
Let's try that again. Does the non-coachable person have an ego? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay. Does the selectively coachable person have an ego?
Yes.
Okay. The reluctantly coachable person
Yes.
and the coachable person.
Yes.
Well, wait a minute, but they're doing everything that they're asked to do. They have an ego?
Yes.
They do, don't they? What are they doing with the ego? They're controlling the ego. So let me ask you a question. We've all agreed what fundamentally needs to be done on a daily basis in the business. Now, what I want to ask you to do is take a look at over the last 10 months. It's just starting November. So since January 1st, or since you got into business, Mateo, now that you've acknowledged what it is that you have to do on a daily basis, I want you to judge yourself where you have been fundamentally in terms of coachability, and by your fruits, in other words, the things that you do on a daily basis, is to where you reside on this scale of coachability. Because if you know fundamentally, Bob, what to do, but you're not doing it, right, then it's either you're not coachable, you're selectively coachable, or you're reluctantly coachable. What causes somebody to be any of these things? Yeah, we said the ego, but ultimately, what is it? It's either going to be what? Fear. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Fear, right? Is your ego designed to protect you?
Yes.
It thinks it's doing that. It says, well, I don't want you to do things that make you uncomfortable, things that could cause you to be rejected by other human beings, because Bob, if we're rejected by other human beings, what does your ego say to you? What does your reptilian brain, or that Cro-Magnon brain, that caveman or cavewoman brain say to you? If people reject you, fundamentally, at its core,
You're gonna die.
I'm not good enough.
you're going to die. Yes, what did you say in the heavens?
Not good enough.
Oh, not good enough. Yes. Well, if you're not good enough, you ultimately what? What does the brain say, the ego say? You're going to die. Because when you're rejected by the tribe pushes you out. And in the day of the caveman and the cave woman, what happened to you if you were rejected by the tribe? You're pushed out. You would die. You would either die at the hands of another what? Another tribe. Yeah, the enemy tribe, or by beast. Does this make sense? So when your brain on a fundamental logical level hears, well, I got to prospect, I got to set appointments, I got to follow up, I got to set appointments, I've got to present or have conversations, lose. Fundamentally, logically, that makes what? Makes sense, makes complete sense. But when you think about it in terms of the framework of the ego says yes, but we don't want to engage in that activity because it's going to lead to what? It's going to lead to rejection, and rejection leads to what?
Fear.
No, rejection leads to, you said it,
Oh,
to death.
Death, yeah.
Because rejection ultimately, right, fundamentally, our brain says it leads to death. Does this make sense? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, so you have either fear or you simply what? If you're not doing these things and logically you understand it, it's either it's fear driven or you simply really don't want what it is that you say that you want. So Dave, you just really don't want the $500,000. Now, is that really true?
I want it. Yep.
You do want it?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't have to share with me or the group specifically, but I just want to fundamentally ask you this question based upon what you know you should have done on a daily basis since the first of the year, since you got into the business. Where are you? And if anybody wants to volunteer, volunteer. Yeah, anybody? Nobody wants to yet?
I feel like I've kind
Well-
of gone through even maybe some of those phases.
Yep.
Where I was kind of selectively cultural. I was like, I don't want to quit my job. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
I'm going to keep my job and, I'll do
Mhm.
some real estate here and there. And then I kind of reluctantly was like, oh, maybe I should jump in, maybe I shouldn't.
Right.
And then I think it got to a point where I was like, what's stopping me? I guess the fear was stopping me from doing that.
So this is a journey, it is a scale, right? You can go from one to the next. Yep, and based upon what you know, what you experience, as you become more knowledgeable, then maybe less fearful, and therefore you're not as controlled by it.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. So where would you say you are right now? Where would your coach say where you are right now?
I don't know. What would you guys say on that?
Sorry. I got my journal going, I'm reading this, and then I'm looking at you.
You're multitasking.
What did you ask?
I asked him what his coach would say in terms of where he is on this coachability scale.
Undecided.
Okay, I haven't worked with
I
him.
know
on
that sounds like.
No, it's I get
because
it.
the true test hasn't occurred yet.
Okay,
But you're
All
gonna
right.
learn a lot about the test, you're gonna be here tomorrow, today, right?
Yeah. Jason.
I was, because I've been with him for a while, I say he's kind of reluctant.
okay,
We'll go on 1 or 2 weeks of absolute solid, does what he's supposed to do, and then we'll take a couple weeks off.
Yeah.
And then you'll come back to it.
yeah. Okay,
I would agree.
at least that's it, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, the first step to recovery is what? Admission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What I would say though is an incredibly open heart and incredibly teachable.
yeah,
The thing I'm already concerned about is execution.
okay.
It is the key to greatness, which we will talk about today more.
Well, so it's interesting because coachability is not just about listening to what the coach says and saying, oh yeah, I agree with that.
Correct.
It's about what? Taking what?
Taking action.
Actually doing it, even if it's not the outcome that you wanted, even though it's uncomfortable. Right, Dirk?
But I would just say, I don't have enough experiences in
Yep.
all fairness to see how well he's gonna execute. But this is, I mean, look, what I'm gonna say today, I'll say it about everybody. The issues are not, can you? The issues, will you? This is not a complicated business, but we really complicate it. And for some reason, there's people who figure out that no matter what, there's core things they need to do, which is what you're talking about. And there's people who negotiate it away. And if you don't negotiate it away, you'll make $1 million+ or more a year. But I'll give you a little insight. I think
A teaser.
2 types of people. Here's your teaser day. There are 2 types of people. There are people who will do whatever it takes to get it, whatever getting that is. Let's just say today I'm gonna talk about how to earn $1 million. And there's people who are completely committed to doing whatever it takes to not have to do it. Like, there's people who really, what their mindset is, I'm gonna work as hard as I can so I don't have to work. Which is the stupidest mindset on earth. And I see 95% of all agents in that category. I'm gonna do as little as possible to earn as much as possible. And they treat their lives like they're down in Las Vegas, throwing $5 on a roulette table, hoping they're gonna get 32 times their winnings back. With $5 of effort.
Interesting. So by his fruits ye shall know him. You look at what you've done year to date, not in terms of results, Turk, but in terms of actions. Are your standards what you say they are? Because you've already told me, you acknowledge as a group what your job is. It is to prospect on a daily basis. It's to talk to people proactively. It's to follow up with those people. It's to have conversations with those people in the appointments that you set, whether it's one a day or one a week. Because Michael Jordan didn't hit every one of his shots, but he was consistent at taking them. Fundamentally, this makes sense to us. It resounds. It's really a question of whether we're going to be controlled by an ego that says, well, if you're afraid, you need to avoid that activity. But to George's point, if you fail to engage in the fundamental activities that we've all acknowledged on a logical level consciously that you should engage in, your standards aren't what you say they are. They're what you do. Matthew 7:16, by his fruits ye shall know him. So the question is, moving forward, are you going to actually do what it takes in order to achieve what it is that you want? Or are you going to continue to be controlled by an ego that is ultimately driven by fear? And fundamentally, you have to answer that question. I can't. But here's what I know, and I'll just finish with this. Those who know why they're fighting or why they need to fight will be those who will actually show up despite how they feel and do what it takes to be successful. Let me say that again. Those who know what they are fighting for will always show up and do what is required of them in order to achieve what it is that they want to achieve. So my question is, do you really know? See, the average person, gang, you know this, the average person on a daily basis engages in habitual activity simply to what? Survive. And then there's the extraordinary person, the person of passion, who doesn't show up to survive. They show up to what? To thrive. They show up to kick ass. They show up to become the person they want to become and create the life that they want to create. Yes? Does this make sense?
Yes.
So my question for you is, do you want to continue to be, if you are that person of ego who's controlled by their fear and plays it small, just simply to get by? That, oh yeah, as the heat starts to increase because there's not enough money in the bank account to pay for the house payment or the rent or the car or the miscellaneous expenses, oh, I better get back to what? I better get back to work. Or the person who's driven not by the fear, but drawn by the passion, the intention, the things that they ultimately want to be in terms of who they are and the life that they want to live. And that's just simply a what? That's a choice. And every single day, you get the opportunity to choose that. You can be that person yesterday who chose to be driven by fear, Turk, but today be a completely new person and say, I know what I'm fighting for. But you have to take the time to figure out what you're fighting for. And if you don't know and you just simply behave habitually, you're going to do what you've always done. Now, if what you've always done, Dave, gets you what you want, then high five, congratulations, let's do that again. You guys trying to be cool. then it's fine. But how many of you are on track so far this year? There were a couple of hands that started to go up. It's like you were enthusiastic, right? You were the people that if you were in jail, you would say you were in a gated community, right? I would ask you to do this because we're finishing out the what was a new year 10 months ago. And we're going to be ramping up for the new year, 2024. I can't believe it's gone by that quickly, but it has. It does not matter what's happening in the market. That is irrelevant because there are people in this company today who are making 10, 20, 30% more today than they did last year. There are people today who are earning more dollars today than they ever have in the business of real estate. You get to decide whether you get to count yourself amongst them or the crowd that says, because the market is the way that it is, I'm simply going to have to wait until it what? Till it changes. Or you can change. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Who's willing to change? Who's willing to figure out what they are fighting for? Do you know what you're fighting for? If you don't, then figure that out. Take the time. George talked about it yesterday, about journaling. Be honest with yourself. Have an honest conversation. I believe the most important conversation that any of us will ever have is the conversation that we have with ourselves daily, every single moment of the day in our subconscious mind. And the only way to improve that conversation, Turk, is to grab your journal and write in it who you want to become, who you are currently, and what has to change in order to become that person. Does this make sense? Say yes.
Yes.
All right. Any thoughts, observations, amens, or hallelujahs?
Amen.
Amen.
All
Hallelujah.
right.
Great.
And for the record, Lizzie is actually smiling. You haven't yawned for a while.
I know.
All right, very cool. Well, welcome. Anybody online who wants to make a comment or amen or hallelujah before we finish?
I would like,
Hallelujah.
oh, sorry. I would like to say, John, that this is a journey and each one of us wearing a different face. And that's why we come in here online or in present to everything that you guys are doing, because we want to get a little bit ahead of where we were. So we're not going to bloom in one day, but it's a journey. And if we're willing to keep up, eventually we'll get better.
Absolutely. And Luz, I've watched you on your journey, and last week you hit a great milestone of closing $1 million deal. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And last night, I want to tell you, I followed your advice, and I was prospecting until 7 o'clock, almost with the trick-or-treaters. So I went to that neighborhood that where you wanted me to go, so I was there.
Awesome. That's great. Keep that up. Keep doing that. Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And Luz, by the way, thank you, because I know that you worked both with Cynthia and then Nick and Stephanie over at North Star. So you worked with Inspiro and North Star. So thank you for doing that, because that's a big deal for us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Just really quick,
Yeah.
so I love basketball. I think and both my coaches, I talked about like how basketball players, someone I look up to is Kobe Bryant. He was very, very coachable. He put his money where his mouth was. He was very, on it. When other guys would be going to the clubs, the gym. He's 18-year-old, I think one of the youngest ones playing an all-star game.
Right.
Is because he put his money where his mouth was. He wasn't like,
It was talk he was due.
yeah, he was about it. He wasn't, going to the clubs and the parties all the time with these guys. He was, in the gym and being, working on his game like all the time. So yeah, I love that.
Highly coachable. Had an ego, right?
And huge ego.
Huge ego.
Yeah,
But he controlled it where it mattered so that he got the results that he wanted.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, stand up. Let's do this thing.